This conference will now be recorded.
My name is Susmita, and I'm the town planner, and I am the lead project manager for this town plan of conservation and development update. Thank you for joining us today. So we've been meeting various board members for the past month, seeking their input on the town plan. Can everybody please mute so that everybody else can hear? Thank you. Today I have Rory Jacobson with me, who is our lead consultant with FHI Studio. And in a few minutes, she will start her presentation. But before that, if you would like to introduce yourselves briefly to us, it'll be helpful. So because we're on a virtual meeting, I'll call out your names and maybe you can let us know briefly about yourself. Peggy?
Good evening, I'm Peggy Nightingale. I'm a new member to the Forest Commission, and a little bit more about myself. A longtime resident of Stratford now, which I didn't realize until my kids turned 20 years old. And excited to see what this plan comes together, and certainly looking forward to some good input, hopefully from everyone, including residents. So thanks for having this with us.
Thank you. Bob David?
Yes, I'm Bob David. I'm the chairman of the Roosevelt Forest Commission. I've been on this commission for about 12 years. I'm former town council and board of ed here in Stratford. I have 3 children, and actually I live on the forest, which if you look at our charter, you have to have so many people that live next to the forest to be on the commission. So I serve that role as well.
That's great. Thank you. Sarah Grossman?
Yeah, Sarah Grossman. I'm working with Rory, FHI Studio. I'm just helping her take the notes for today.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello. Dan Ruskin?
Yeah, hi, I'm here. Dan Ruskin, I'm an alternate on this committee.
Thank you. Chuck Emerson?
Hi, I've been on the commission for about 8 years, I guess. I'm a scout leader, coordinator for a lot of the Eagle Scout projects in the forest, and I'm an architect.
Thank you. Ellen Skerber? Ellen, are you there with us? Looks like she is disconnected.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So I live on Peters Lane, which is the road that leads to Roosevelt Forest. I'm there every day, and I'm a lookout for fallen trees and all that. And I can't wait to see what you guys are going to be discussing for the future of the forest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan Levlin?
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Llewellyn. I've been on the commission probably about as long as Chuck Emerson has. Former zoning commissioner, former town councilman, currently on the ZBA. Was lucky enough to participate in the plan update that was done 10 years ago. And, like everybody else, just excited to hear what the plans are, for the future. Also hope we get to take a look back and talk about some of the stuff that we have done over the last 10 years, because it's been exciting and productive. But thank you, Susmita, for hosting us, and let's see what comes up next. Thanks.
Thank you. Frank, how are you doing? Frank Bevacqua? You're muted.
Okay, there we go. Hello, Susmita. Thank you for hosting the meeting tonight. Like Bob David, I've been on the Roosevelt Forest Commission for about 12 years or so. I'm a lifelong resident of Stratford, and just want to do what we can to help push the town forward.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So, Rory, the floor is yours. You can start, and I'll make you the presenter for tonight so you can share your screen.
Thanks, Susmita. Yeah, I'm Rory Jacobson. I'm the project manager on this project, working really closely with Susmita. And, not many communities, especially in Fairfield County, have a forest. So I think it's pretty cool that Stratford has such a resource. And so, yeah, Susmita, if you share.
I think you are the presenter in this. I just see that you're the presenter and organizer for this meeting.
See that. Sorry, everybody. I guess, yeah, if
Not
everybody
able
could go on mute, and then Susmita, did you share it to me or?
Alan, can you go on?
So Rory, if you go down, do you have the screen button?
So, let's see. Okay, here we go. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
All right,
Alan,
perfect.
can you mute your microphone? I
Yeah.
think the noise is coming from your background.
Ellen,
I'm trying.
thank
Not
you.
working. Dear God.
You know, technology doesn't always work as planned.
No, it's
But
not.
we'll get there.
There we go.
Great.
Perfect. Thanks, Ellen.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
So yeah, so the agenda for tonight, you know, we're just going to really quickly go over the POCD, you know, give you a little progress update, what we've done, where we're going with it. And then really the bulk of this meeting, the point of it is really to talk to you folks. You know, we did some research looking at documents related to the forest. You know, we took a look at your forest management plan. We'll discuss, you know, what we've heard from our public outreach, you know, getting out there, talking to the community. We'll talk about the goals from the current plan from 2013. And then we really, like I said, the point of this is really to have a discussion with you all and hear what we should be including and thinking about, because you guys are really the experts related to, you know, this topic of the forest. So, you know, the Plan of Conservation and Development, POCD, this is a document that the Planning Commission uses to kind of guide their decision-making process. And this plan update, every 10 years by state statute, the municipalities in Connecticut have to, you know, do a new plan. They have to update it. So the current plan was completed in 2013, so Stratford's due. And, you know, this update process is being guided by a technical advisory committee, and that's made up of about 25 different department heads, really, you know, lots of different representation on it, and, you know, and also the Planning Commission. And so this whole process, we're really trying to talk to as many people as possible, cast a you know, a wide net. We've done 3 workshops at different locations. We launched a project website, planstratford.com. If you haven't checked that out yet, I encourage you to go on there. We've done pop-ups where we went out to the community and talked to people. We went to the Main Street Festival. We've gone to farmers markets and, you know, other events. We launched an online survey that I think to date has had about 800 people in the community take it. You know, we're doing interviews with different commissions. So, you know, the Roosevelt Forest was, you know, a commission that we wanted to talk to you. So we're doing 10 of these. We'll also be doing stakeholder interviews. We went out to schools. We met with the seniors. We've really tried to, you know, talk to as many people as will listen to us and talk to us. You know, so with that, you know, just taking a look, we did review the 2011 Forest Management Plan, and I apologize if there's, you know, other documents we should be looking at. This is the most recent one, and I will say if there's any, you know, anything that we should review or be looking at, please share with us, you know. But, you know, looking at that plan, you know, kind of the main things we noticed were that, you know, the forest is divided up into different uses, different activity areas based on use, you know, active areas like the pavilion, picnic areas, the passive areas where people go hiking and camping, and then kind of the no activity areas with some of the different environmental like areas, wetlands, isolated uplands, things like that. And so some of the goals in this plan overall, you know, to demonstrate sound, sustainable land stewardship, improve forest health, protect and enhance wildlife habitat, provide recreational and educational opportunities, conserve soil and water resources, and then help achieve the open space goals of the town. So again, this is from 2011, but most of these, I believe, are probably still relevant. Maybe we want to add some things to these management goals. But, you know, the plan did also highlight some different recommendations for natural resources, recreation, and other. And So for natural resources, it said, consider allowing timber harvesting in the promotion of structural old growth conditions. And I should have said too, like reviewing this, like we want to talk to you. Are these recommendations still relevant? Are there things we should be thinking about beyond these recommendations? So this is just why we're trying to go do this review of this with you folks tonight and kind of hear your thoughts, what's important to you. But anyways, back to these different recommendations. So, eradicate invasive species, protect the wetlands, the vernal pools, eastern box turtle habitats. So for recreation, there was some different recommendations, things like boundaries and signage, make sure there's consistent signage, and improve trailheads, maybe update the trail guide and, provide greater access, and maybe things like letterboxes and geocaches throughout the forest. And also, mountain biking is a big recreational activity there, maybe working with the mountain biking clubs to help with some maintenance. Then there were some other recommendations, things like a limited hunting program, maybe an arrangement, with an environmental organization for the unused nature center building. And again, this is from 2011. So if that's happening, that's great to know. We can talk to you folks later in this meeting. And then just again, increase public awareness of recreational and educational opportunities.
Rory?
So I just want, yes.
Yes, Bob David here. I'm just trying, do you want us to take a pause? Actually, if you want to take a step back to do you want us to pause and to kind of address this, or you want to do this at the end of the meeting?
Well, you know what? I have a couple more slides. I'm going to talk about, what we've heard from the community, and then it's going to open discussion with you guys. So we can go back to the slides, and so yeah, I'll finish up these last couple slides, and then want to talk to you, put you guys to work.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I did mention the public outreach that we've done, and we've heard quite a bit about the forest. Overwhelmingly, pretty much everybody we talked to identified Roosevelt Forest as just this great, amazing resource for the town. But many residents did tell us, they said they don't utilize it as much as they would like. They kind of feel that its location, it's kind of disconnected from the southern end of town. People mentioned, maybe the Greenway needs to somehow connect up to the forest to get more people up there. People did say they'd like more group hikes, kind of showcase the trails, get more people in there. And people love the dog park. They think it's great. And they also said, it'd be great to have a dog park in another location as well. And then there were some comments, just maintenance, signage, picnic tables needed in some areas. So then we also took a look at the current POCD and, from the lens of, the forest. And we found, the goal for parks and open space is to encourage healthy lifestyles, adequate play and recreation space and facilities, encourage tourism and economic activity, through the provision of diverse and vibrant parks and open space systems. So, related to the forest, there were specific action steps laid out, and these were, make sure we're allocating adequate staffing and resources to ensure high quality maintenance and improvements to parks and open space throughout the town. So this is general to all the parks and open space, but I thought it was important to include here. And then this one, and this kind of mirrors what we heard from the residents, is, seek funding to construct a multi-use greenway trail along the utility line in the north section of town, connecting Roosevelt Forest to residential neighborhoods and the greenway network. Continue to strive to reach town's open space goal of 15%. This will require approximately 300 additional acres. And then lastly, to enhance access in general to Roosevelt Forest. So that was like what was included in the existing POCD. And so we wanted, and again, we'll open it up for discussion, but we want to know, is there other things we should be thinking about? What do we have to make sure we talk about related to the forest that represents, some of the things that you guys are talking about in your meetings. So with that, I just want to open it up for a discussion, and we have some, kind of some questions, first of all, but, if there's things, please, anybody chime in at any time. But I guess, first of all, what's the strengths related to Roosevelt Forest? What's Stratford doing well? And again, please, open for discussion. So whoever has any thoughts, go for it. Bob, did you have some thoughts? I know you had asked.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I do. I have many. This commission's pretty dedicated on doing everything it can for the forest. And one thing we're looking at is the trails and make it accessible for all residents in the town. We need funding for that. We have certain trails that really need to be widened. They need to be accessible. You know, there's a couple where you have to literally walk on planks to get over vernal ponds and stuff. So that's one thing. Safety, we're putting cameras that are supposed to come in to the forest to protect our assets there, right? We have that big pavilion, we have the nature center there, and we want to make sure we have a deterrent there for vandalism. We also brought in University of Connecticut to look at the age of trees. And by some chance, we really don't have that many invasive species in the forest. So from that point of view, we're doing very well. And as for hunting, I heard that brought up. We don't really have an overpopulation of any animals in the forest. So I can speak for the commission. We don't allow hunting today. I don't see it happening tomorrow. We're not against it per se, but there is no need for it. As for the dog park, that was a private group that came up with money. The town is supporting it with in-kind services, and the administration's been great with it. But I know a lot of people all over town. The town's 14.2 miles long, so but people do come up to the dog park. Let me see. We have 400 plus acres right now. We're always looking for contiguous property that's adjacent to the forest to add on to the forest. And we're working with our state representatives, our state senators, and our local administration to make the forest larger if we can. And there's a lot of properties both on the east side, north side, and the west side of the forest, and the southern side as well. So we're looking at that. And we've, as for trail markings, we've brought in MetroCog. The Boy Scouts have been very instrumental on marking trails as well. So we're doing pretty darn well with that stuff. So anyone want to add anything?
I would just go back to that slide where what was it, 2011? I guess I've been on the commission longer than I thought. But the next one, yes. So this point about allowing timber harvesting and promotion of structural old growth conditions. So what that study, that forestry study found is that we really have sort of a vulnerable forest up there because of the harvesting that was done during the Depression to help people get firewood. Most of the trees in the forest are about the same age, and they're all pretty much the same species. And if an insect or a disease comes along that is going to harm the one or two species that we have, that we're in danger of losing the entire forest. So, and that's something that the original plan was to try to pay for that by allowing people to come in and selling the good stuff, right? Selling the wide, clear pieces that they can get. However, the financial conditions for that at the time were not favorable. But here we are 11 years later now, and we haven't really done any of this harvesting. And so we're just 11 years more vulnerable than we were at that time. So, part of the problem is that we have so many old big trees that the opportunity for smaller trees to grow is limited. And so I know that at the time that the company that did the forestry study was willing to, for a fee, to supervise some harvesting. And you know, if the financial conditions still aren't favorable to pay for it by, you know, selling good wood, then maybe we should, you know, pluck away at this, do a little bit every year, pick the most vulnerable areas or perhaps the most remote areas where people wouldn't be bothered by some harvesting, but, you know, come up with some kind of a plan with a forestry company supervising that does what that study indicated we should do in 2011.
So Chuck, it sounds,
again,
I just want to confirm it, no you know, since this plan, no harvesting has been done, but you feel that it's something that should be
there was one
maybe allowed
area
or pursued.
Right, there was one area. Well, there are two things that have happened. One that the forest that the town was responsible for, and one that we were at the mercy of the water utility. I'm not sure what happened to the wood that was harvested to run a new water line through the forest, through a portion of the forest. But it was a pretty brutal and indiscriminate clearing because they had to clear where the pipe was going to go. It was a replacement pipe, I believe, that had been leaking for years. So we really had no control over that. There's an area not too far from the existing pavilion that was cleared without our knowledge or consent. And I guess it was to create an open area, an open recreational area, but it's not maintained by the town. So it's overgrown now. You really couldn't run around and play in it or, you know, picnic on it or whatever. It's not a field by any stretch. Okay. It's sort of an open area now with growth that's only 5-6 years old, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, sorry, Chuck,
but a real targeted, intelligent timber harvesting to provide opportunities for new growth and to provide opportunities for diverse species to be added. To my knowledge, and I've been around since this plan was made, because I remember hearing about it the first, you know, meetings that I attended. So yeah, I think I really think that we should be addressing this issue. There's been a lot of hand wringing by the past conservation director that, you know, people don't like to hear that trees are getting cut down. So there was consideration of a town-wide education program to tell people why some trees need to be removed from what appears to be a fine forest. But I really think that that's something that we need to you know, chip away at on an annual or semi-annual basis, so we end up at a place that we might be if we were, you know. So I think number one, we could investigate whether the current price of wood, it will allow us to do it for free or for a small amount of money. And if that's not the case, then we got to put some money toward it so that we peck away at it and make sure that, you know, let's say in another 10 years, because it's been 10 years, in another 10 years, it would be nice to be able to cross this item off the list.
Sure.
and to say, you know, we have a stronger forest because we've made it more sustainable with diverse species and younger growth.
Sure. Now, I know, Bob, you had mentioned that, you know, progress has been made about some of the signage and you're working with MetroCog. Are they helping? Has that trail guide been updated? Is that still something that we should be
So
highlighted?
we have done it. We've updated it. We have safety measures in the forest. We have a standpipe now into the pond for fire suppression as a safety measure in the forest. Trying to go through everything. I'm scribbling notes as we go through here. We did look to a local mountain biking club for they wanted to use the trails. We thought it was a danger because we have a lot of residents who do passive walking through there, and we feel that's a danger to them. So that is something we've looked at as a commission and decided against. I mean, people can mountain bike in there. Remember, it is residents only allowed in the forest at this point. We don't have somebody checking residency, but I will tell you, we did look at the Connecticut mountain biking, one of the major Connecticut mountain biking clubs. They wanted to set up trails there, and this commission felt it was in the best interest as stewards of the forest not to allow that. If you can go back to the slide, thank you. I'm reading off. I need to go back.
Sure,
Can
I'm
you
sorry.
go back to? Thank you. You just, yeah, thanks. That helps me kind of say what we've addressed.
Sure.
You know, the forest, you know, when it comes to development next to the forest, we're very sensitive to the vernal ponds and the eastern box turtle habitats. Not to disagree, I would never disagree with Mr. Emerson, but we have seen a lot more, I will say, predatory birds in the forest in the past 10 to 15 years. And I'm sure everyone will agree. We see them, you know, whether they're, you know, a barred owl or a red-tailed hawk or eagles. And I think that's all throughout Connecticut. But the you know, the 400 acres or 399 acres that we have, we look at that. We've looked at some weird, unusual stuff. I'll use that term. By the way, St. James Church owns 1 acre in the middle of the forest. It's sort of surrounded by town property. We've looked at acquiring that property. St. James Church still owns it and maintains that little acre they have, or 3 acres, but we've looked at that. As for the nature center, during the summer months, I know that is used by the recreation department for educational events for kids. The police department and neighboring police departments all use the shooting range, which is in the forest. On weekends, there's an archery range that is used on Saturdays. Chuck can probably elaborate a lot more than I can on the archery range, but we do allow police departments between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. on non-school days, on school days, I should say, to, you know, they have to get certified. So both local, state, and federal agencies use that gun range. I don't, anybody else, did I miss anything?
Yeah, Bob, this is Alan Llewellyn. Just wanted to add in a couple of things kind of real quick. While things didn't work out with the local mountain biking club, I think we would all be remiss to not credit Lou Loban and the great things he's been doing. There's a racing series of ultra marathons that take place and are conducted in the forest. In conjunction with that, he you know, helps us out with trail upkeep and maintenance. He also makes donations, so there's sort of a fundraising aspect to his racing series. And then as a, you know, sort of as an offshoot of that, there was improvement to trailheads. We now have this lime green trail that's been established directly off a cul-de-sac. So now for runners or people who want to access the trails, if the parking lot's full on weekends, there's you know, other areas where you can park a car and then basically hop out of your car and just walk right in, and then you're on a marked trail, and that ties into the network of the other marked trails. And then Bob, I didn't know if this would be a good time to kind of bring in our four-legged unintended timber harvesters, also known as the beavers, as we had a challenge with a beaver family not too long ago, but I think that was a bit of a learning experience and for all of us. And then the only other thing I want to touch on is I feel like in terms of working with the town, I feel like since I've been on the commission, the town's been a lot better about publicizing when the gun range is in use. At one point, we were seeing notices get posted for, 12 and 15 days a month, regardless of whether or not the shooting actually happened. And now I feel like there's a much sort of we're told which days they are and aren't shooting, so it's not like they're blocking out days, and then if they're have a 4-day block, they're only shooting for one day. And again, Bob, I don't know if you want to kind of follow up on what
No, I'm glad you're bringing.
improved.
By the way, everybody pinky swear it's on tape. I don't care that I did not mention Lou Loban and the great ultra race marathons that we have. We have
I got your back,
4
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Lou does races from 5K where they dress up in Santa suits to 36-hour ultra marathons, and people not only from Connecticut but from throughout the United States and North America come to race in these races. It is unbelievable. Stratford has kind of got its mark as a ultra marathon spot here in the United States. And ultra marathons where people run 100 miles, they rest for a couple minutes. It's a pretty intense race, but they love the forest. Lou is a steward of the forest. He makes sure what he puts out, he takes out. He's made donations where anything from the American flag to, and he clears a lot of the trails, some of the dead wood that's there. Kelly Kerrigan, I cannot say enough great things about Kelly, who has been amazing. If I give her a call and we see a tree that's fallen on the trail or it looks like it's going to fall on the trail, she will have Public Works go up there. Public Works does, I think, a very good job on maintaining the parking lot and the forest. It's a large area. Can she use more resources? Absolutely. Can we use more money? Absolutely. But with the money we have and what we do, I think we do a darn good job. The beaver problem is mitigated at this point. We had a family of beavers move in. They built a dam. It threatened some of the homes on Barrister Road. And unfortunately, we had to do some things to remove the beavers. 2 of the beavers actually left on their own, and the 1 beaver unfortunately had to be trapped. But we have not had a beaver problem in the forest for the past, it's probably about 7 or 8 years at this point. So that's
Great. So you mentioned
anybody else?
Public Works. Bob, I was just going to ask, is there anything, along those same lines that the town could do to help you and your commission better? Anything you
honestly,
need from the town?
Yeah. Help us build. We have some trails that need attention. I'm thinking of the specifically the Orange Trail. There's a long. It was done by the Scouts where they cut up some telephone poles and put some planks so people can walk across a pond there. That needs to be improved. There's a couple bridges on the north side of the forest that needs to be improved. All that need just money in labor to do that. We've had groups that come out, but it's pretty extensive. I'm going to ask my commission here to help me on the improvements that we need in the forest.
Yes, Bob, it's Frank Bavacqua here. I'm having some lag on my computer. I hope it's not while I'm talking here. The pavilion that was redone in 2016 was wonderful to improve that area. The other picnic areas could use some attention, even if it's new tables, and working fire pits, manageable fire pits that
Yeah, so that's I got to kind of chuckle on that. Whoever there are fire pits put in without this commission's authorization that really are not good fire pits because oxygen cannot get in there. And last time I checked, in 6th grade, when you build a fire, you need some oxygen. So Chuck helped me on that, but I was only in the Cub Scouts for a few weeks, but it's not a good thing. So we do need real working fire pits in the forest that are safe. I always use the word safe. Our number one thing is, we want to make sure everybody stays safe in the forest. We put,
And
like I said, go ahead.
oh, camping is allowed too, right? I think I read that in the forest.
So, well, yes and no. Groups can camp there. Individuals really can't. You can go through the permitting process through the Stratford Recreation Department, but there is a permitting process. We don't have passive camping allowed in there. So, like a family wants to go there and camp, I believe at this time, and Chuck helped me on this one, I don't think it's allowed. Is that correct?
You're correct. So the key thing is that in order to get a permit, so the areas that are set aside for camping are group camping sites, and their intended use is, community service groups in Stratford. So a school could do it, the Scouts can do it, both Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. There have been church groups that have used the forest in that way. But the key thing is that in order to get a group permit to camp there, you need insurance. So you wouldn't even be able to do it as an individual because you can't, the town has liability insurance coverage requirements. So so that's correct. So the only camping right now is by youth groups in Stratford that are able to get a permit.
And one of the things I would love as we're going through this from the town side, we have a pavilion that we could rent out and actually get a pretty good price for if we had facilities. We only have one working bathroom up there. So if the building was constructed where they had, multiple bathrooms, and now that we're in 2022, since I just came from a DEI conference, I could say you can build, individual bathrooms of 2021 bathrooms or 10 bathrooms with a showering facility. Doesn't have to be male, female, as long as they're separate. We could probably get away with something like that. That would be a great ask. And that way, you could have families go up there. They would have a facility, and God forbid for bad weather or something like that, they could run somewhere for shelter as well.
So I have a question. I mean, this is all great feedback, and this is more related to the forest itself and how to improve the forest. But in general, the town also has an open space management plan, and there was an open space acquisition goal a decade ago in the POCD to expand the open space in the town. Do you, as a forest commission, feel the need to, add more land to the forest or, expand the land use?
Let me be crystal clear. Yes. We've talked to Kelly Kerrigan, Joe Gresco, Kevin Kelly in the past, and continue. We would love more forest land. There's tons of properties. As we all know, Stratford's population is aging. And some of those, I would love to grab some of those properties and make them part of the forest.
And which properties would you say they are? Would you be able to identify on the map?
Yeah, you could look. Ready? East, north, and west. It's very simple. Just look at the map. There's privately held properties there. Even in the middle, right? We talked about, I kind of joked about that. There's a couple acres owned by St. James in the middle. We will look at anything that's contiguous to any contiguous property adjacent to Roosevelt Forest. And since I've been as chair, the town of Stratford actually had contiguous property that was next to Roosevelt Forest, and we've added that to the forest. So we are anything contiguous to the forest we would like to add. The answer is yes. And I think I can speak for all the members on that.
And how do
Is that
the
fair, guys?
residents feel about it? Like, what do the residents say, the nearby residents?
Again, I will speak. As a southern resident of the forest, with the forest that abuts my property, I would say it's an abundant yes. Ellen, you're north of me, actually northeast. What would you say?
I would say yes, and especially James Farm Road property. You know which one I'm talking about, right? That they were trying to develop.
Yeah, the 795 James Farm, which they're
Yes,
now changing the
795.
town as open
Yes.
space.
Yep.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I think if you as a commission, like I will talk to Kelly tomorrow too. If you can, roughly, create a concept or illustration of where you would like to expand further, it'll be useful to, include that in the future vision for the town. But I'm very afraid as to how those property owners would feel when they see that the commission has identified their property as a potential property for acquisition. And that's why I'm
Well,
asking. Mhm.
yeah, I don't think they would actually be against that. Most residents I know, I can speak for myself. If I was going to sell my property and the town wanted to buy my property and make it part of the Roosevelt Forest, I don't think I'd be against it. I speak to my neighbors quite all the time, and I know Ellen's neighbors. Ellen knows a lot of my neighbors. I think we don't, I'd rather have the town make it part of the forest than a private developer develop the property. Is that fair,
Oh,
Ellen?
Yes. So Bob, am I wrong? Most of these properties, isn't it wetlands? A lot of it?
Wetland. Well, some of it's farmland too. So you have to. I'm thinking on the eastern. Excuse me. Yes, the west side of the forest as well.
Okay.
So actually, if you could put a map up of the forest.
I don't
Okay.
believe I have a detailed
Yeah.
map here readily available,
Well,
but I will ask
no,
Kelly to share with you, and you can send us back which properties do you think have the potential to be added as open space. So then in the future land use map, we can, identify those land uses as open space for the future. So there's no development on those parcels.
sure, that's no problem.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're not talking about, taking the properties away from people. We're talking about buying them instead of letting a developer buy them when they become available.
Right. This isn't a help me eminent domain. We're not talking
Eminent
about eminent
domain.
domain.
I was searching for I was searching for it too.
I was thinking of the word too. Yeah. Adverse possession, eminent domain, whatever I learned in real estate class many thousands of years ago.
Right.
Yeah. So what I'm looking at, if you go to the southern part of the forest, if you move your little cursor more to the left, see those two little farmlands up. There we go. Yeah. So like that property right there. Yeah. I mean that's what I'm thinking. That would be absolutely what I would love part of the forest.
That is good information. Yeah. I think we should map these as potential sites for acquisition to remain as open space or forest
All
land.
on the eastern. I sound like a World War II guy, but all on the eastern front here. Those big, you see those big farmlands right there. So even below there. Thank you.
Okay.
It just makes a lot of sense.
So the other thing I'll
Most
add,
people don't even know it exists. And then to go to Ellen's side, yeah, you better go to the west before Ellen comes to my house and beats me up here. So go farther on the. Thank you. On the right side, right? Go more east. Thank you to James Farm Road. Ellen, can you identify the properties you're talking about? Go north a little bit of there, I think. There. More north, right? More north and more west, I think. Yeah. There we go. Ellen, where are you here? I can't.
No, you're too far.
Yeah, you're too far. Go south. Yeah. More south. Yeah, you got to go south of Patricia. There we go. You can go out a little bit if you can zoom out. Ellen, I'll let you drive here.
So I'm assuming that parcel is Oronoke,
Right.
that big parcel, so it should
No,
be to the
yeah.
left.
Yeah, you got to go left of James Farm Road. You got to go where all the trees are, left of that. There you go. Okay. So the cursor, where's the 495 and all that property?
795.
795.
That is out of question right now because it's before the planning commission, where you
I know
will have three
that
single
area.
family homes and one lot deeded as open space. Mhm.
Right, but now we're not just talking about one lot. There's a lot of vernal ponds up there, so that's why you can probably see the ponds as you go in there, where your cursor just was. So there, Peter's there, yeah. And that's where you have your eastern box turtles and a lot of your sensitive wildlife. You see all those little spots in there.
And you know what, I do have, let's see.
In general, what is your open space expansion goal? Like, what is the goal? 10%, 15% for the next decade?
Our goal is as much money as we can get is to purchase as much property as possible. How's that? We don't have a specific goal because goals are made to be attainable, and without funding, we can't make goals without knowing what kind of funding we're going to have.
Okay.
So can I ask where does the town set aside funding for maintenance of the forest? Is there like a Friends of the Forests, group that
Yeah,
raises
we don't have a line item.
funds?
That's a great question. The only line item in our budget really is to pay for our secretary, who is drastically underpaid. In case she hears the tape later. Yeah, so that's what we have. That's our budget. Most of it's in-kind services with Public Works. When I was on town council, and I'm going to push back to Alan Llewellyn as well, there was no specific line item for Roosevelt Forest. Alan?
Yeah, I believe the funds for Roosevelt Forest are kind of rolled in with the sort of the parks budget, which is, I believe, a line item under Public Works. So
right, with park, it's everything. It's everything in there. So to answer, I would love maintenance money set aside for Roosevelt Forest for trail maintenance and everything else, but it just does not exist, and it has not existed for as long as I've been involved in town politics, which goes back to the 90s. So,
Do you have a good group of volunteers that help with some maintenance or?
we do. We really do. Lou Lobin and a couple of his, I will say, friends help tremendously. As a matter of fact, as recent as this weekend, when a tree fell on the Orange Trail, him and his minions basically took it out. So he's a good steward of the forest, and we're gonna, he can't keep doing this year after year. And we've always had people jump in. The Boy Scouts have jumped in. I don't want to forget the Boy Scouts, because the Boy Scouts, all the Scouts, I should not say Boy Scouts, the Scouts troops up there have really contributed to the forest as well. I know other groups have been up there in the past. I know even St. James, they have that little property up there. They've done some work up there as well. So there's a lot of volunteers that help with the forest.
Great. All right. So in this last 10 minutes, is there anything else we should know? Anything that we should make sure we include? I know we talked about maybe considering the harvesting and, just more expansion of the forest overall, and maybe a budget line item for the town. But anything else we should make sure to add in here before we wrap up for
I would
tonight?
just
Go ahead. I'll let everybody speak.
reiterate the boardwalk replacement. That Eagle Scout project was 25 years ago. So it's actually served for a long time in a even though it's deteriorating, but really that does need to be replaced. And I think it's going to be, a fair amount of money that it's not going to be able to be covered by a volunteer project. The circumstances at that time when that Eagle Scout project was done, the full ramifications of using old telephone poles wasn't fully understood environmentally. And, you know, it was only because the kid's dad worked for the telephone utility company that he had access to those telephone poles for free. And I'm not sure where the planks came from, but they're rough lumber. And, you know, I don't think that was a big expense at that time, but I think that structure was designed to kind of be floating so that as this, when the water rises during certain times of the year, it rises too. And it actually has held together pretty well. It's pretty remarkable how well it's held together for 25 years. But I think a real boardwalk kind of structure that's above the water, no matter how high it gets or low it gets, is something that's really been a priority. And, you know, I know that as a commission, one of our members has looked into it in pretty good detail. And I think we even got to the point of a proposal, but I don't recall how much it was going to cost. But it really, that's something that really in the forest, that would, to me, that would be a priority. And then also in terms of the trail accessibility, right now, the only truly accessible trail is the one from the parking lot into the group camping area. And, but even that one has kind of gotten beat up over time because it's, you know, it provides vehicular access to that camping area, which is important. But the crushed stone that was put down has kind of eroded away in some areas, and it could use kind of a resurfacing with crushed stone to bring it really back up to par. There's also, just for your information, one of an Eagle project was to turn one of the lean-tos into a handicap accessible lean-to, so that if and when there was a disabled scout, they could get in there and they could actually camp. But that ramp needs some work too. So.
And that can be done with CBTG, by the way.
Yeah.
I would be eligible for that.
Right.
Community block grant money.
If you have any pictures, please share with us so we can use in the document.
Okay.
Any other final thoughts before we wrap up tonight? And thanks everybody for your time. This is really great having the opportunity to speak with you for your thoughts.
Chuck, I totally agree with you about the orange trail. That should be our priority.
Yeah, I think the only thing stopping us for several years, we've been looking at it for several years. The only thing stopping us is money.
Right, just money. Yeah.
I mean, you know, no, but seriously.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm laughing with you, Chuck. I'm 100%.
Yeah.
We have a couple bridges too. I'm thinking of the bridge on the the bridge on the North Trail. I can't remember the color of the trail. Is that lime green? That bridge is pretty beat up too. Mm-hmm. One near Ellen's house up there. Not the one going to the campground, but north of the campground.
I think that's the Green Trail.
Green Trail, yeah. And that's another bridge that, you know, it's all done by volunteers. The bridge near my house, near Pumpkin Ground, is amazing. You know, Ed Bisco's son did that, but that's only about 10 years old. We just need money to really have real trail improvements in the forest. And that would be the takeaway from this. We need the money, and we need, you know, we're one of four towns that owns their own forest. And not woods. We actually have a forest, so you know, wood can be harvested. That's the definition between wood and forest. So, that's you know, whatever support we can get, we're for. But thank you. I really do thank you guys for listening to us. Any last thoughts? We have 5 more minutes, so I'll make sure my commission speaks.
I'd like to say to if you're making a wish list, the picnic areas, whatever.
Is that Ellen? Ellen, if you go on mute.
No, you're cutting out.
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, it was for a set of wish list for improvements. If you want to add the picnic areas, I should say, and the dog park too. Whatever they need over there.
I agree with both of those, and I think the commission does as well.
Peggy, did you have a comment? I know you seemed
I did. Did I see something in your slide that group hikes were an interest? I don't see it on this one. I'm no. Something that the community residents could use. Prior to my commission, I actually independently organized group hikes through smaller groups in here, and it's something that I've been asked in other community groups to come back to and help out with again. I think an issue just from the few I've done is communication or getting the information out. And then of course, once you do one, it's never at a time convenient for enough people, or people are always left out. So I think some of it's too just is my thought as I did them is encourage other people to use the trail so they too then can become their own leaders of their families or their family and friends like that. So I think that'll happen in time as more and more people, as we bring more and more people into the forest, it seems like we're trying to do safely and smartly. So
Great. Yeah, well, again, thanks everybody. And, this isn't the end of our discussion. If anybody thinks, of anything later on and you want to add in, I know you have Susmitha's email. You can also email me. This was really important to talk to you all and get your feedback. So definitely really thank you very much. Susmitha, do you have anything else to add?
No, this is great. Thank you very much for all your feedback. And I will reach out to Kelly to obtain the map where you can identify parcels that you deem are suitable for open space acquisition. And we will likely use that in the future land use discussion of the POCD. And thank you very much for your time.
Before we finish, one thing I put this map, I should have mentioned this, in your 2011 plan, there's a map that shows the NDDB. So this is what CT Deep kind of updates this mapping every 6 months to kind of highlight areas where there's, diverse species, what they call critical habitat. So this is a map that will update for this POCD plan. So you'll have an updated map showing this as well. So, and again, like I said, if anybody thinks of anything later on, please, let us know. We'll be starting writing, in January, February, and I think we'll be concluding the plan sometime this summer. So there's still, a lot of time to be involved and contribute more if you think of anything. And so, yeah, thanks everybody. Have a great holiday. And enjoy the rest of your
Happy
night.
holidays, everyone.
You too.
You too, and thank you so much to all of us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.